Hello everybody and welcome to this new episode of Tech Pizza. Before we get started, I have an important announcement to make. If you follow Tech Pizza, you know that I believe that AI is a huge opportunity for everybody. It's changing the world as we know it and it's always more and more democratic. So there's always more opportunities if you want to have a fulfilling and exciting career. But the problem is that it's very hard today to figure out how to start a career in AI. How do you understand how AI works if you don't know how to code? And if you don't want to code, well, that's what my program is going to help you with. It's a 4-week-long program that is going to help anybody without any sort of technical knowledge of understand what AI is and how to start a fulfilling career working with AI. So I'm going to put a link here in the description if you want to check it out. And now let's get started with this week's episode of Tech Pizza. We're going to start with some very interesting pizza bites from Elon Musk to EU regulation on AI, lots of things. But the two main news of the week are the new Tesla humanoid robot and the new technology from Meta, formerly Facebook, that is capable of creating videos just from a simple description. Mind-blowing stuff. Let's get started. Pizza Bites number 1. The European Union released a first draft of the EU AI Liability Directive. This is a law that will allow people like me and like you to sue AI companies for damages if we've been damaged by flawed AI algorithms. An example could be somebody that thinks that an AI hiring algorithm has rejected our application without that being fair. Now, this is just a proposal. It's going to be live probably in a couple of years. The problem is, how are we going to be able to prove that we've been unfairly treated by an AI algorithm? It's really hard, but interesting concept. Let's see how it's going to be implemented in practice. Last week, some SMS messages that Elon Musk sent to other investors have been released as part of his trial for the purchase of Twitter. And this is not big news, but I think it's super fun, so I want to tell you about it. You can see from these messages the way that he interacts with investors. And basically, he's negotiating using thumbs ups and thumbs downs on iMessage. He's having this it feels like it's me talking to my friends about what kind of pizza we should order. And instead, he's negotiating deals of $1 to $5 billion. Like, some of the things are insane. I'm just going to read you a message exchange. So Elon Musk says one of his friends, roughly what dollar size? He's referring to how much money his friend wants to invest. No holding you to anything, but the deal is oversubscribed, so I have to reduce or kick out some participants. His friend says, $1 billion or whatever you recommend. And Musk, whatever works for you. I would recommend maybe $2 billion or more. This has very high potential and I'd rather have you than anyone else. His friend, I agree that it has huge potential and it will be lots of fun. Elon Musk, absolutely, smile. Really? That's how billionaires exchange $1 billion investments? Wow. Do you know about the Google graveyard? It's basically all the projects that the company tried to build and failed, just didn't go anywhere. Well, there's a new addition to the Google graveyard. It's Stadia, their gaming streaming platform. This was going to be a revolutionary platform that allowed people to play video games in streaming, so without installing all sort of crazy software on their laptops or consoles. Well, it has been shut down because it just didn't get the traction that the company expected. But one interesting thing is that Google already said that the technology they built to allow this live streaming, which is a very complex thing to build, is going to be used to power all the services they already have in mind. So maybe not everything is to throw out, and that gives you an idea about how Google thinks. Google throws a lot of different experiments out there. Something sticks, but usually even stuff that doesn't stick finds a purpose, because this technology, in the end of the day, it's something that can be used for a lot of other general applications. Let's see where this tech is going to find a home. Dall-e 2 is finally free for everybody to use. This technology that allows anybody to create images based on a simple text prompt initially was restricted just to people that applied to OpenAI to have access over this technology. Well, now anybody can just make an account. OpenAI released some information as well about how much this system is used. They have 1.5 million users, which is crazy considering this tool didn't exist 6 months ago. And over 2 million images per day are generated using Dall-e, which is amazing. One thing that I want to point out, though, is that there was a reason why there was a waiting list to get access to Dall-e 2. There were maybe two. One of them was to make sure that the systems will work with high requests, but the other one was to, work as a gatekeeper to make sure that people were using it in a way that was ethical. Now, the question is, did we answer all these questions? Are we sure about how people are going to use this ethically? I don't know, to be honest. I don't think we have a clear answer to these questions. What I think, though, is that since there are a lot of competitors, OpenAI has a huge push to just open up the gates to their system. So I don't think this release is because they ironed out all the details about the ethical implications of the technology. I think it's just a commercial reason, which is a little bit sad, isn't it? Elon Musk unveiled a new humanoid robot during the Tesla AI Day 2022. Elon Musk said that these robots are gonna cost roughly $20,000, are gonna be ready in 3 to 5 years, and are gonna revolutionize humankind as we know it. He says this very interesting thing that if you think about it, the productivity of humankind as a whole is the number of people, the number of capita times productivity per capita. But if you can produce infinite capita because you can just build robots, well, then the productivity of humankind is going to skyrocket. So even though he says that this product is going to be much bigger than the car and is going to revolutionize humankind, we need to understand where is he now? How does this product work today? So Tesla showed 2 different prototypes. One of them was actually walking on stage, even though it was not very elegant, I have to say. And it waved at the audience and made a very slow dance. It was a little bit awkward, but it worked. And it looked a little bit funky, looked like a prototype because that's what it is. They also showed how the product is going to look like in the future, which was much better, but this new robot, which is called Optimus, like Optimus Prime from Transformers, had to be carried on stage from engineers. They had to drag him along. It was honestly a little bit embarrassing looking at this crazy technology that is supposed to revolutionize humankind that's dragged along by a bunch of nerds that are struggling to move it on stage. Anyway, this is where the technology is today. Of course, this is going to improve a lot. And of course, this is impressive considering that a year ago, Tesla had nothing. They had a human being in a suit that was just dancing on stage, and they were just prompting at this idea of having a robot at some point. But now let's talk about why Tesla wants to do this, and therefore, if Tesla actually has a chance. So Elon Musk says that Tesla cars are basically robots on wheels. So what they're doing now is nothing more than a Tesla car, the same intelligence, but on legs. Well, first of all, this is not exactly the case if you think about it. And that's because like a robot doesn't just need to move around. If this robot is going to be useful in any way, it needs to also, take orders, interact with the world, do things like, they show demos of the robot watering plants and picking up boxes. But the robot, if to be useful, needs to do that in an unscripted, natural way. And we don't know if that demo that we saw of the robot watering plants and bringing boxes was scripted or not. My guess, 99.9% sure that was completely scripted, considering that the robot could barely walk during the live demo. So here's where we are now. He says that it's just a robot on legs. It doesn't look like it's that easy to move a Tesla car technology into a robot and make it useful. The other thing that he said, and I think this is interesting, is that robots today lack 2 things. One is real-world intelligence, and 2 is manufacturing, and Tesla is excellent at both. Well, let me talk about the manufacturing part first. That's true. We have seen the amazing demos of the Boston Dynamic robots that can do backflips and all sort of crazy stuff, but these robots are really expensive to build, and it's basically impossible to build them in mass production. Tesla started this robot design thinking about mass production from day one, and they're really good at that. They do make a lot of cars. So I'm confident that Tesla is actually going to solve that part of the story, the manufacturing part. The intelligence part, as I said before, this is a whole different kind of worms. Making a robot walk around an environment, take orders, understand these orders, and actually interact with the world in a scripted way, it's much harder than making a car drive itself. And by the way, Tesla cannot even make their cars drive themselves. We know that they still struggle understanding if what they're looking is a yellow light at a traffic light or the moon, which I would say is a big fucking problem if you want a car to move around. Well, imagine a robot. It's a 10x harder problem. And honestly, I don't think Tesla's going to be able to pull it off anytime soon. So why are they doing this? Well, this is my thesis. Back in the days when Elon Musk started Tesla, the mission of Tesla was to revolutionize the way that humans consume energy and save the planet from collapse. basically, because they're going to accelerate this transition to renewable energy, was going to be amazing, etc., etc. And a lot of people bought into this crazy visionary mission. And then they said, well, okay, now that everybody else has tried to make electric cars as well, so it doesn't look as fancy to make electric cars, we're going to make self-driving cars. And that was the new dream. Tesla was not just making electric cars, but they were actually making these cars self-driving. They promised to have these fleets of cars moving autonomously around the city to pick up passengers and make money like your own autonomous robot taxi. Well, that didn't happen yet. But this crazy vision that attracted investors and made a lot of people dream hasn't realized yet, even though a lot of other companies are either catching up or even more advanced. Examples are cruise automation. We talked about them often in this podcast. Waymo from Google. There's a lot of self-driving technology out there. So saying that you make an electric car is not sexy anymore. Saying that you make a self-driving car is not that sexy either. I mean, Domino's Pizza have their own freaking self-driving car. Come on. So what do you do to make people still believe that Tesla is a visionary company that has crazy dreams and dares to do more than anybody else? A freaking robot. I believe that this is nothing more than an excuse, I may say, or a medium to try to keep Tesla on the edge of the hype curve, to make people still see Tesla as a company that dares to do stuff that nobody else dares to do, that is completely crazy and visionary, and, maybe at some point actually ship a product. Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook, just released a technology called Make a Video. It's exactly as you may think from the name. It basically is an AI algorithm that you can give it any description that you want. Let's say a dog in a spaceman suit flying in space, and this AI is going to generate that video for you, which is pretty amazing. It can also take existing pictures and animate them in a way that is realistic or modify current videos. Now, the technology is still very limited. It can generate videos that are maximum 5 seconds long, and it's pretty clear that they are, AI made. But we saw how fast text-to-image technology evolved, and so there's a lot of hope for text-to-video technology to evolve as fast, if not maybe even faster. So now let's talk a little bit about how this technology works and why it's so cool. To make this technology, Meta used 3 different kinds of dataset. It took 2 datasets that are image datasets, basically an image and a caption for that image, and he used this to create an algorithm exactly like Dall-e or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion. So algorithms capable of generating images from text. Then they took a 3rd dataset, which was a video dataset, and they used this to teach the AI not just how to generate images, but how to make these images move. So it was basically a combination of technology that already exists, plus one other step, which is the animation part. Now, let's talk a little bit about how is Meta intending to release this technology. Well, so far they said that it's just a research, so you cannot play with it, and they didn't say even when you're going to be able to play with this, because it's just research, and they're still trying to understand how people are going to interact with this, what are the ethical implications, because there's a lot of ethical implications here, right? And, we're going to have to wait for them to figure these things out until we can try it. Now, there's one thing, though, that I want to mention. I've talked often about this phenomenon called the AI genie effect. What does it mean? A lot of these companies, when they push new AI research, they say, well, I'm going to keep it for myself because I still need to figure out, ethical stuff, etc., etc. But they do publish an academic paper that explains how they built it. So the genie gets out of the bottle. And what happens then is that all the powerful companies can look at these papers, can replicate them, potentially improve them, and you have zero control over the way that these companies are going to actually deploy their research. An example is Stable Diffusion. Stable Diffusion is a company that built a text-to-image model exactly like Dall-e or Midjourney, but they open sourced it. So put yourself in the shoes of OpenAI. You create an amazing technology like text-to-image and you say, well, I'm going to wait to release it. But this is how I did it. Then somebody else takes the paper, builds the same thing, and then releases it without any check and balance. So you understand that it's not really possible to try to slow down or control AI innovation if you tell everybody how your technology is built. People are gonna copy you. One thing has to be said though. Text-to-image models are very complex, but text-to-video are much more complex. So there is one thing that we have to take into account, which is that it's gonna be much harder for small companies like Stability AI to get the funds to create these models. We're talking about millions of dollars to train these algorithms. So maybe this is gonna be something that is gonna be harder to replicate or possible just for large companies. We'll see. But it's going to be really, really dangerous, I believe, because we don't know how people are going to get inspired by this and what they're going to release in the future. Thank you for watching this episode of Tech Pizza. If you're interested in knowing more about the program that I talked about in the beginning, go on ai-academy.com and find all the details that you need. I talked about a lot of AI applications in this episode, and that's not by chance. It's because there's so much stuff happening in AI. And when there's a lot of stuff happening in an industry, that means there's a lot of opportunity. Don't let it go. Invest in your education and join the AI revolution. I hope I'm going to see you in my class. Ciao!